So we're in November, and what that means is that it is getting ready for Hell Week, as what I like to call Black Friday, Cyber Monday towards the end of the month. So we're going to share some strategies as to what we've seen work. However, keep in mind that this is now, there was pre-Andromeda, now we're post-Andromeda, so things have changed, and we're doing things a little bit differently now. So, John, I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about this topic as well, too. So we've got some strategies for you guys around Black Friday, Cyber Monday for both Meta and Google. Not as much changes on Google from the previous year, at least from what I've been doing. But on Meta, it is, totally different beast now. So very, very interested to get more into that and share that with you guys.
I'm going to have a case study, somewhat of a case study, but we'll kind of discuss the different points. I am a big proponent to not scaling Google specifically during the Black Friday, Cyber Monday time period. Now, you can, if you're scaling up annually, which means you're going to be spending more in 2025, more than you did in 2024, which was more than 2023. I'm a big proponent of not overspending on Google. One of the things that we have to look at first and foremost when we're talking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday is the sales cycle. We've talked about it ad nauseum, and I hope that everyone has a decent understanding of the sales cycle for their company. The reason why this is one of the most important things to look at first is this is going to give you a timeline to introduce, scale, and your sales on all of your channels based on how long it takes for a new user to become a new customer. So one of the areas, then I've been having less and less and less of these, but is to look at your overall sales cycle in Google. Now, I'm going to give you a quick pro tip, depending upon how you're doing your tracking, because sometimes this could be way overblown. But it takes upon 14 days after an impression for a user to convert. So what this means is that it believes that there will be 120 more conversions in the next 2 weeks. Now, why does it think that? Well, you have to look at one area first and go into your segments, your conversion, and your days to conversion and see if your account has the bell curve. What I mean by the bell curve is this will tell you the difference between a first-time purchase and a return purchase. I'm going to skip Cappy imports, just by the way. I highly recommend that you do it, but we're too late for you guys, so I'll swap for it now. So for this to be more relevant to you all, we're going to use non-Cappy standard events. So you want to look for something called a bell curve at the account level. So when you look at the segmentation, you go to conversions, type in days or click on days to conversion, go all the way down to the bottom in the account level. And we're going to look at essentially what we call a bell curve. And I'm just going to use the last 365 days to do so. So once you have the last 365 days and you have your segment by conversion, days to conversion, and you're at the account level, you're going to look for this bell curve here. And I'm going to show you the first part of the curve. And this curve looks like it does this. It starts off, obviously, there's no zero unknown, but you have a high amount of spend and then, or high amount of revenue, conversion value, and then it starts to whittle down. And you're going to start to see this bell curve this way. So think of it like a graph that's like turning on your head this way. Like this is it right here, and it's starting to go up more here. And this is the bell curve. Actually, you know what? Let me do this. I'm going to use the conversion by conversion time. It's much actually way easier to see. So we're going to use the conversion value by time or conversions by time. Okay. So you see the bell curve here, which is, okay, there's day one. We have 380,000 in sales. That's high on this graph here. It's high, and then it kind of goes to 26,000 down to 14, down to 9, 8, 7, 5. You can see how it's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 14, 26, 330. Holy shit. So a lot of people on one day. Now, why is there a lot of people on one day, and why do you have 14 days? That seems weird, right? Well, when we look down here, you're going to start to notice the bell curve, which means that on the days after the 2 weeks and 90 days, you see this bell curve go. Remember at the top, it was big, then it flattened out. And then now it's doing this. You go from 3,000, 6,000, 27,000, 21, 18, 29, 27. So it's not exactly like a curve, but you see fat at the top, skinny in the middle, fat at the bottom. That's the curve. Now, the reason why it's a 14-day sales cycle is because it's averaging out everyone from day one all the way out to day 90 and the value there. That averages out to about 14 days, where if you look at the actual 14 days, it's probably some of the least that you've ever seen. So just know that if you count every conversion, your time lag is artificially extended because it's counting the first sale, then waiting 3 months and counting the second sale. Well, sale 1 on day 1, sale 2 on day 90, you have an average of 45. But because it is skewed way heavier towards the first, your 45 is brought down to 14. In actuality, it could be 6.
Okay.
So just know that you're having an artificially inflated timeline simply because people 2-3 months later spend another 100 grand with you. Well, when you tack on 100 grand in the last 4 or 5 areas here, that's 100. That's 15, 20, 25%, depending upon your level. Yes, 25% of your sales coming 2 months later is going to skew the day 1 further out. So just understand that metric of 14 days isn't holy shit, it's 14 days all the time. You have to qualify that 14-day time period based on if you're counting existing customers and the repeat sales out to 90 days. Some people do a 3-day, which means you're only ever going to see 3 days as your time lag. It could be 7, but you can only see 3. So your average is 3 because it is at the end of the level that you stop tracking. It's reached the point, couldn't see further. We know it's further, but you're missing a lot of data and it's only counting out to 3. So your sales cycle between days 3, 10, 30, 60, 90 is heavily going to be dependent upon what your attribution setting is and how long your look back window is. So once you've established that, you say, okay, it seems like out of 330 all the way out to like 10 days, I mean, after 10 days, you're getting like 765. Okay, so we have about a week-long time lag, which means between here and here, I would be comfortable to say that the majority of my sales on the first-time new customers, 330,000 plus, 26,000 plus 15,000 plus another 10,000 plus another 8,000, I'm student plus 9,000 plus another 8,000. Okay, that's 400 of the 550. Good enough. So we have about a 7-ish day sales cycle. So if you have a 7-day sales cycle, how long would you be running your Black Friday, Cyber Monday for? Let's just do this conversationally here. Well, you'll act like, hey, you told me at the beginning of the call, a bunch of people have been asking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Your own clients, past experiences, how long does a Black Friday sale typically run?
I mean, typically it's pretty fast. It's like less than a week. We're talking like 3 or 4 days, like over the weekend kind of thing. So
now, how do you take a 7-day sales cycle and compress it down to 3? The sale goes live, cash flow rolls in, and then you start to see, well, how many new versus returning customers are there? Typically, for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the majority of your sales are going to come from existing traffic that hasn't bought yet, so it'll be new customers. But a larger majority of those people are going to be from your return customers. I had the conversation earlier today with a company called, well, I won't give their name publicly, but this is their Q4, actually not Q4. This is November, December 2024 compared to November, December 2023. And they had a nice 22% bump. When 22% doesn't sound like a lot, but this is 22% of almost $20 million. So yeah, that's a fuck ton. That's like $4 million.
Just a casual $5 million, no big deal.
Couple, 4 or 5 mil for that 2 months, whatever. But watch this. Yeah, there's the $19 million, 22% up. And it's November 1st to December 31st, 2024, compared to November 1st to December 31st, 2023. Now, this is great. 22% more sales. Facebook crushed it. Instagram crushed it. Google search got another like 600K. So really good. Email is good. Everything is good, right? The one thing that people often overlook, and this is why we teach this here, is during this time period, year over year, 3% new, 23% returning. Aha. So between November and December, year over year, when we added $5 million, we have 3% growth of new customers at only 57,000, but 23% growth of a much larger number of 70,000. So 3% of 50K versus 23% of 70K.
Yeah.
So not only do you have exactly, not only do you have to take the rate of increase, but the rate of increase comparative to the size. So this one's moving, almost, basically this one's moving 8 times faster of a much larger audience.
Yeah.
And this is all the way through November and December. Now that's a 22% increase, but if we take the last, 365 days compared to the previous period here, it's about the same rate of growth, 19%. So, and you see still new and returning. So 150,000 new, 152,000 returning. So about 50-50 equally, but in the days and times that it comes about that the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales will be going live, son of a bitch. But So that's the kind of the interesting thing is there is a lot larger a majority of returning users than there is new. So because of that, things like your Google brand or things that are more warm traffic or warmer audiences, I like to lean into that. When people were saying, like, when I say, hey, your Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, majority of the times and nowadays from a paid media perspective is mostly coming from your returning customers and returning traffic. So if we look at November 29th, which is Black Friday last year, and we compare that to the previous day, in this company here, we actually have, and let me hop into the Meta account as well. And I'm just going to do this. Let me do a comparison here. So let's just do November to November. Okay. So we're going to look at November 24th compared to the previous period. And then we're going to do November 1st to the 30th compared to the previous period. Now, what we'll notice during going into November from October, Google has a grand increase of 6K. Meta, November compared to the previous period, has a grand old increase of 6K. So between November in 2024 compared to the previous period, which I hope that did that right. Yep. There's 12% here, and then there's 18% here. So we basically added $12,000 to the account, but this one's going from 49 up to 55. This one from 33 up to 40. So we're spending more on Meta than compared to Google. That's always going to be the case. We will always be spending more on Meta than Google, and we're pushing on more prospecting. This is back then. It's obviously doesn't look like this anymore, but this is what last year obviously was looking like. And you can see there's not a whole big push, but the BRDA, this one here, was actually a lot of our prospecting. And this was basically like doing our reach campaign. We started pulling back on reach in November. We said we don't really need anybody new. We don't want to start to bring in, this is like our feeder strategy. Yeah. So we stopped going after a feeder
old strategy for people
exactly.
that are here. This is not the current. This is old.
No,
we just want to reiterate, this is not what we're doing now.
Nope. Last year, we actually started pulling back on cold traffic at the beginning of the month. And this is something that is very, very standard practice for us. We have to sort of understand that there may not be, not always, but there may not be a lot of brand new people who will just find out about us very quickly and then take advantage of our sale, not in comparison to the people who already know about us. And I kind of have proof of that. So the theme of this is it's not necessarily cold traffic growth. It's existing audience harvesting. That's how we have to look at this thing. Black Friday, Cyber Monday is existing traffic. Maybe they're customers, maybe they're not, but they're existing traffic harvesting. So things that we start to kind of tighten up on is TCPA targets and ROAS targets. So obviously we have our purchases coming down because these are working to our audience here.
This is crazy. So you don't warm up audiences per se or new audiences per se before Black Friday, Cyber Monday?
Not too much. Like it was funny is you can actually see that my existing customers has a decent amount of ad spend on it. And we started actually pulling back on our prospecting. We actually don't do a lot of prospecting in November. And it seems really stupid. But when we want to have a ROAS, or not ROAS, when we want to have a MER, a top line, I almost swore. When we want to have a MER that is very, very healthy, you don't want to do a lot of prospecting. Your ad spend on people who are being inundated with 4,000 other companies at the same time offering them sales. Typically, what do you do during Black Friday, Cyber Monday? What's when you say, hey, there's going to be some sales next week, right? That's when everyone knows, hey, Black Friday, Cyber Monday are going to come up soon, right? That's what everyone says out loud, or at least to their spouse or to themselves. I think there's going to be some sales for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right?
Yeah, everyone's aware of it.
Exactly. Everyone's aware of it. Now, do you say, man, I hope I see some products because there's nothing that I want a week before Black Friday, Cyber Monday? No, not really. You're saying, okay, if the sunglasses I want go on sale, I'm going to get those. If the new grill goes on sale, I'll probably get that depending upon how much they're offering. If A, B, and C happens, I'm going to go and buy that. Like you're really starting to make your list on things that you want because there's things that you have been eyeballing or things that you're waiting to take advantage of, but maybe not really have gone through with it yet. So we are doing prospecting, but you can see that we're not scaling spend. Like we're not pushing really. If we look at the total amount of spend, our total amount of spend has gone up 12%. And this is Q4 Black Friday, Cyber Monday on a very fast growing company. And we're waiting to kind of harvest all these people. So we actually start to become more restrictive. We start to spend 1,000% more on existing customers. We've spent 19% less on new audiences. The new audiences here get pulled back. We actually start to increase a TCPA and ROAS, or a cost cap, not a bid cap, because bid caps are absolute dog shit. But you want to do as much restriction in the month of November, because now you're saying, you know about us, I'm going to focus on you, and I'm going to basically, harvest all of the ads, all of the increases that I possibly can. Hey, if you like this video, we have a school community where we have a few hundred members, and we cover topics, everything from the basics to all the way to the like hyper crazy advanced stuff that's like coming out next month. So a few hundred members there. We go live twice a week, something with an hour-long education about something that is very relevant to the community that week, plus a weekly Q&A where you just get to come and bring us all of your problems, and we solve them one at a time.
So I have a link below in the description if you want to join. And then obviously if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and we can answer those for you. And we'll see you in there.